Hello everyone. This is End All Be All here, and welcome to my channel. We're in the third day, which is the final of the first week of this season of Grand Arena, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about evaluating your opponent, or rather, playing against your opponent and not against the roster. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that if you look at your opponent's roster and try to evaluate them, that's one way in which you want to prepare for what kind of defense and on offense you'll face. That involves things like looking at how many G13, G12 characters they have, what kind of modding they have, what kind of relics they have, whether they have galactic legends or not. Those kind of things are what I mean by roster evaluation. That's one way that most people tend to approach looking at their opponents. But the same roster can have a really different effect if it's under two different people. So I find it really more useful to evaluate your opponent rather than evaluating their roster when you're going up against them. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by evaluating your opponent? So the what I mean is basically trying to see what their play style is. Like, do they like to go offense heavy, defense heavy? How good of a record do they have? Do they, have they got a decent offensive record or not? And the way that I like to do that is a couple of different ways. So there's a quick way to do it, and there's a not so quick way to do it. I'll talk about both of these very briefly. Number one, the quick way to do an evaluation of your opponent is to look at two statistics, two very simple percentage statistics, and you can do this evaluation in under 30 seconds. One is you take a look at their lifetime banners and compare it to yours. If they're more than yours, then it's definitely going to be a really tough competitor because they've obviously done much better in Grand Arena than you have. If they're less than yours, how much lesser? I find that anything up to about 10% less than you, which is like at the 90% range, is still competitive. Anything below that, and you might have a slight edge in terms of strategy and all of that. So, for example, my current opponent, Humpy for now from Death Star Row ODB, uh, their lifetime balance is 225k, mine is about 247k, which means there's about a 10% difference, so a 90% range exactly. So that's one quick metric that you can see just by looking at your opponent's lifetime banners. You can make out how competitive they are. The second thing that I like to do, and I've talked about this a couple of times before, is to look at the defensive defensive holds divided by the offensive battles won, and look at that ratio. So for most people, that range will be somewhere between 20 to 30%. If you, for example, in this particular case, it's 294 divided by 588, which is a little more than 50%. In fact, it's exactly 50%. So anything more than 40% means that the opponent sets a really tough defense, and you have to be prepared for meta teams on defense because they tend to get more holds. Like I said, anything 20 to 30% is what you would usually see. Anything less than 20%, 15%, the opponent will be setting really light defense. So at a quick glance, you should be able to make out exactly what kind of a defense or what kind of play style your opponent has just by looking at this metric. So that's the quick way to evaluate your opponent, which is look at lifetime banners, look at defensive holds divided by offensive wins, and those two metrics will give you a good indication. The second way, which is more time consuming, but if you have the time, if you have the energy, if you have the inclination to do it, go to swgoh.gg and look at their GAC history and analyze what they've done for the last 3 weeks. That gives a very good indicator of what kind of teams they like to set on defense, whether they have a set pattern or not, whether they like to change things up, what kind of teams they like to take on offense against specific teams, where they make the most mistakes, where they're most uncomfortable at. Those kind of things you can really evaluate as well. You can also do evaluation of things like, by looking at your opponent's defensive holds, you can figure out because essentially swgoh.gg is ordered in the order in which it was attacked. So the teams in the top two or four sections is going to be the most likely the teams which have been kept out in the front. So you'll get a good idea of what they like to keep at the back and what they like to keep in the front just by looking at the order in which they were attacked. And secondly, you'll also get to see when they attacked because you've got timestamps over there as well. So you'll get to see whether your opponent has prefers to attack before or at a certain point of time in the day, or if they like to wait for their opponent to go before they attack. So the timestamps can tell you quite a lot of things as well. So that's the more detailed way of doing it. A lot of times I don't even have time to go into my opponent's history to check it out. But usually I just look at lifetime banners and defensive holds by offensive victories to get a quick idea of what kind of defense to set in. And then I just go in and set that in. So that's in a brief nutshell, that's what I mean when I say play your opponent and not necessarily play their roster, because a person can have Galactic Legend on their roster, but they might decide not to keep that on defense if they like to play an offense heavy game. So there's just so much you can learn just from trying to evaluate your opponent rather than just blindly following the kind of roster that they have and what kind of sets of mods that they have. So that's so now let's actually go and jump into our battle itself. We are facing Humpy for now, like I mentioned. And it's been a few hours, about 9 hours since the attack phase started. None of us have gone yet. Let me briefly talk about my defense, and then I'll move over to the offense phase. So my defense, the most predictable part of my defense, as I've mentioned a few times before, is I always like to keep my gas and DR on defense. In this case, I've also kept my Basti team over here with Wampa. That's been doing pretty well. Wampa, especially with the paired up with characters who can call assists like Shakti, Basti, um, and Ezra. It ends up being a pretty formidable counter, especially with an R7 Wampa. Down south, I've kept I tend to change things up apart from the DR and GS. The other teams I usually tend to change things up. I change the order in which I put them. I change the zones that I put them in, and I also sometimes switch between offense and defense. Um, I've decided to keep my my Jedi Knight Revan on defense over here. So all my Jedi are on defense. The Basti team as well as the Jedi Knight Revan team. This is a relatively weaker team. It doesn't have a tank, and it doesn't have Basti as well. But Jedi Knight Revan by itself with Yoda and Jolie, they can be pretty formidable. With Basti in there to reduce the damage that they take in, and with with three healers in there, this can get a little problematic if you don't take a meta team in. So what I'm doing in the front zone is trying to force a meta counter. I've kept Nest under Newt, kept Mission and Zalbar over here, but I usually vary this a lot. At the back, I've kept a relatively weaker team. I've kept um, my Kira with the L3. I've kept Vandor in there. Not Vandor. I think this is Veteran Smuggler in there as well, just because I recently relicked him for the Ray event. And then I kept Mother Talzin lead. And this is one example of me reading my opponent. I've seen their galactic history, and I know that they love to take their EP without Basti against Night Sisters, and they usually don't have a healer in there. So I'm hoping that the Mother Talzin lead, as opposed to a Sarge lead, proves more problematic for an EP lead for as a counter. So that's basically what I did down there. And up top here, I just kept my malevolence out there. So that's my defense. I usually like to wait for my opponent to go before I attack, just so that I know what to expect. But in this case, I have a busy day tomorrow, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and attack what I can now. So I've seen my opponent's galactic history, and they usually keep General Grievous with Watt in there, which is why I decided to save my EP Basti team to counter that. There's a Newt and Nest in there as well, which is a pretty standard team. Relic only on the Droidica, but it's going to be a nuisance team. There's also a Django under Geos over here, which I found really interesting. If you've watched my last couple of videos, you know that I've talked a little bit about Django and the synergy that they have with Poggle. So I thought they were trying to do something similar over here. But couple of things. One, there's no Poggle in there, which I think is a real mistake, just because he gives such a big offense boost to teams without to characters without hive mind, that it's a missed opportunity not to have Poggle in there. Ability block is also pretty useful as well, especially if you're trying to take a Night Sister counter against Geos. If you have Poggle in there and Poggle applies an ability block on Daka is not going to be able to revive anyone back, and that really hampers the counter quite a lot. So I think Poggle is one of the underappreciated members of the Geo squad. He's usually the first one to get left out, but I would say leave out Sunfac if you have to leave out someone, and keep Poggle in. The I'm not that worried about this one because I think maybe Django was put in here by my opponent just to prevent the Night Sister counter, just because this guy has got a Zeta on the unique, which means he'll be able to prevent Night Sisters from reviving. But it's got a speed set and only a G12, so not that troublesome. I should be able to take my Treya against it. I think my Treya should be able to survive this guy. But let's see. We are anyway leaving the zone for the end. Down south, another thing I noticed with my opponent is they always keep their Jedi Knight Revan on defense. So I saw that and I decided to keep my own General Grievous on offense. I've always kept General Grievous on defense. I think it's a much better team on defense. It extracts banners. It's difficult to clean up, especially if you're running out of teams. But in this particular case, for two reasons. One is Grievous is such a great counter to JKR. Secondly, there's also the feat which is going around, which you need to take in a captain of a ship. So I decided to keep Grievous on offense just because he can do so much damage and he can counter Jedi so well. We'll have to see what we want to take against the Hux lead, but I'll first go and clear this with Grievous. I still have a CLS and Padme that I want to save for the back in case they have a Gas or a Darth Revan out there. But I know that Grievous I can go ahead and safely take against the Jedi Knight Revan team. There is an R7 Grandmaster Yoda, but he's modded for speed, 324 speed. So not that worried about that. Okay, so let me just take my standard Grievous team. Now it's been forever since I've used Grievous on offense. Both in TW and GAC, I always save Grievous for defense. So this is going to be something new. Um, but yeah, Grievous is pretty straightforward to play. So that's a good thing about Grievous is since the whole team is hidden, we can very easily you know target the mark at a particular character. All right, now let's dispel everything. I am going to let me do this. Okay, so we've triggered Savior, and let's dispel everything again. I am going to try to get Jolie Bindo down. Unfortunately, he has Master's Training, so he's got a little extra tenacity, but that really shouldn't matter with this team. There we go. Let's do a big hit. And look at that. Jolie is down and the team is almost gone. So they have marked my Grievous, but nothing to worry about. I think it's a little too late. Once Jolie is gone, there's really nothing to worry about. There we go. The unfortunate thing about this team is there's not much banner recovery, but that's fine. I think if I know my opponent correctly, they might have gas at the back, which means they went defense heavy. And looking at their record, it's like 50% defensive holds. They usually go defense heavy. So when teams like that, when opponents like that go defense heavy, and they are faced with a tough defense as well, that can sometimes throw them off. So I'm hoping that is what is happening. So we'll hopefully get to see that. All right, now against the um, Huck's team, what do I want to take against that? So most of the teams that I have rely on turn meter gain, and I was thinking of maybe trying my Finn team, or maybe my JTR squad. I'm not really sure. Everything else I want to save for the bag, but maybe the Finn or JTR, one of the resistance squads I want to take in. Um, I think I'll try the Finn team. Um, yeah, there's days over here. There's chance to apply expose. There's tons of good damage, and my team is faster. So let's give this a shot. I know that I won't be gaining much turn meter or any turn meter at all actually, but it's a G12 squad, so I'm not that worried. Famous last words. Okay, let's dispel this. And you know what? Let me just get rid of this guy, Kylo Ren Unmasked. And then let me start working on Hux. Pop the exposures when I can. And this should hopefully kill him. That's it, 60k. All right, now let's focus on getting some banners back. I'm going to apply buff immunity with someone, maybe one of these guys, maybe this guy. There we go. Now let's just start popping exposes so that our cooldown is reduced. There's no days over there, but I want to get rid of first order executioner. Let me heal up this guy a little bit. Land a stun over here. Excellent. And I'm going to pop the expose over here. And who's got maximum turn meter? First order officer. Let's get rid of him. And let's pop another expose. And I'm going to recover health and protection on everyone. Pop an expose, and this should take care of that. And that should be 60 banners. All right. So this team did a decent job. I saved a meta team. This is a secondary resistance team that I have. I still have my primary JTR with the resistance heroes in there. That I can always use to take out a tougher team. All right, let's see what's at the back. And there you go. My opponent has kept Padme and a weak Karth team. Not very worried about that. But this is going to pose some problem, because what team I usually take for Padme is going to be it's going to be my Treya team, and that I was planning to use for the Geos, and I definitely need Thrawn for the GG counter, so I may have to do a mirror match for Padme. So so I'm going to spend a few minutes to strategize what I want to do, and then I'm going to come back and complete the rest of the battles. All right, so I think I've decided what I want to take against the two toughest teams which are left. There's the Grievous squad, which I think I definitely know what I'm going to take against that, which is going to be this one. So let's finish the Grievous squad first, and then we can. Maybe I should use. Yeah, no, I think this is going to be the best counter against Grievous with what. So I'm going to take this against that, and let's see how we do. So he's going to give the taunting tech to him first. I'm going to pass the turn mirror on to Basti so that she can get the fear rolling, and I'm going to refrain from fracturing, and I don't want to do the AoE. Well, actually, I can go ahead and still do it. Reduce the turn meter. Let's do this. Let's apply a shock on. Let's apply a shock on B2 Super Battle Droid, and now I'm going to do an AoE to pop the stagger on Grievous and hopefully stun him. Didn't stun him, but we can fracture him. And now let's keep working on him. Shock. Okay. Now let's keep working on this guy. Let's do a shock over here. Let's pass this back to Nihilus. Ooh, very close. Let's do a basic out here. I'm almost about to lose my probe droid, which won't be good. Let's do a shock over here. Let's do this. Okay, some fear. Continue to fracture this guy, and let's take him out. Okay, so we control that. I'm going to try to save my probe droid if I can. And now I'm going to speed it up because these things can take a while. Alright, so that guy is gone. He was doing a lot of AoEs. Now I'm going to get rid of Watt so that he doesn't revive anyone. And pass this back to Nihilus so that at least he'll end with full protection. Okay, now let me start working on Magna Guard. Since this guy has got the med pack, so he's going to be recovering tons of health and protection. Magna Guard is going to be easier to take out. Let's give this to EP. He can maybe get another heal off. So this guy I will have to annihilate. There's no option because he's got his med pack on. It's going to take a while, but it's actually a good to use as a punching bag, just so that I can get some additional health and protection. Just have to make sure that annihilate is ready. Yes, it is. So with 30 seconds left to go, I think we can take care of this guy. Let's see if we can't get at least a couple more protection back on probe droid, and then we'll have to fracture because Thrawn needs to recover some health as well. So there's health steal, but not enough probably. Let's do one more, and then I think we can just annihilate this guy after that. I really wanted to save annihilate for Padme. The Treya team is really amazing versus Padme, but I really don't know if my Padme team would survive. So there we go. We get 58 banners. Okay, that should be more than enough against this team. Okay, so now the next best team is the Padme team, and the very best team that I have left is my own Padme, and I hate mirror matches, but it looks like that might be the only way for us to go. The other teams over here are relatively weaker. I'm not that worried about it, but yeah, man, this is going to be tough. Treya, I don't have Thrawn. It's going to be a problem. I think I'm going to attempt to do a mirror match and see if that is at least able to get a few people down. Mine are not as relict as my opponents, but let's see. But at least my Padme is faster, I think. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to land a stun on Padme, which didn't work. Excellent. Okay, let's try to land a buff immunity. Not yet. Let's do this. And dispel the buffs. He did the same as well, but at least I'd save that. Okay, this is going to be a little ugly. Not good. Let me at least try to get rid of Kenobi. And how many? 18 stacks. Okay, let's get rid of Padme so that at least the leader is gone. And the problem is they all have retribution. So I'm going to attack C-3PO and then try to stun Jedi Knight Anakin. Excellent. We landed the stun. Should I confuse someone? Let me just do this to him and heal up. Right in time, we saved our Grievous, General Kenobi. Let's finish it off. Okay, so that worked out better than I expected. I was hoping to I was thinking I might lose one or two people, but the mirror battle proved to be effective enough. All right, so now we have relatively weaker teams to take out. So I'm going to give it some thought and see what is best in order to preserve banners, and then I'm going to decide what to take against the remaining three teams. All right, I think we have a plan in place. I have plenty of offense left. I've got my Bounty Hunters Treya, my Rebel Squad, my First Order, and my own Geonosians as well. Plus my A Resistance team, which is going to be JTR with the Resistance Heroes. But I think what I want to do is I want to use my Watt with the Stormtrooper Han against the Geos. That's a very solid counter. I'm going to use my standard gas counter to it with a Stormtrooper Han lead. Tons of way to regenerate protection in this team. I'm hoping this does the job. The only person over here who will be able to hit outside of Stormtrooper Han's taunt is going to be Django. So he's the only one who's going to be able to reach across taunt. But I think the rest of the characters should only be able to attack Stormtrooper Han. So I'm going to stun Brood Alpha first, and then pass the taunting tech to Han so that these guys only attack him, and then pass the weapons tech to the other Han. And let's just power this down as much as I can. Let's go and do that. Look at that. The protection won't even get scratched with Watt and Han. It's definitely it's a really great combo of Han and Watt. Let's do this on this guy. I'm going to get rid of Spy first, since he's relict, and then give this to Chewie Vandor, so that he's always buffed and the damage gets reduced. I'm going to delay attacking Django. I'm going to delay the battle a little bit because Django still has damage immunity. But I may not have a choice. Let's do this. All right, excellent. Now damage immunity is gone from Django, so we can finish it off. We just need to make sure we are at full health and full protection on everyone. I think Watt is missing a little bit, but that's fine. 59. Okay, so that Geo team was taken care of. Django really wasn't much of a problem there. Now we want to, let's clear off the first order, the Karth team down below with First Order, and then we can take what is left against the final team up top, which is going to be the new team, which is always problematic. But I want to clear off the First Order team first, this one, the Karth team. And there's no Zeta on mission, which makes it slightly easier. And there's only one tank. There's no Juhani, so there's no cleanser. But I'm going to take in my First Order. It's been a while since I've used this counter, but this is typically good 60 against Karth teams. My goal right now is to go with full 60s. So I'm going to go first, and let's see who's got the most turn meter. It's probably this guy. So I'm going to stun him, and then I'm going to pass a turn meter back to crew, and then stun someone else, maybe mission. And then let me try to land a stun on Karth. Excellent. So 3 stuns in a row right from the beginning, which is great. Now I'm going to reduce some turn meter over here. That didn't happen, but the counters should more or less take care of him. All right, let's do this. So it's a great control team, since um, since you have tons of ability to stun over here. All right, so that's another reason why I like first order Stormtrooper, because if he gets advantage, he dispels on his basic. I'm gonna try to get rid of this guy. Let's do this. I want to attack with a basic so that my taunt remains on crew. Let's do this. Let's pass this back to him, and then we can have him stun someone else. Let's do this. Ooh, I should have dispelled with my basic, but that's fine. We've got another dispel coming up over here. Let's do a basic. And I want to make a kill with Hux, since he's one of the fleet captains. I'm going to do a basic over here. Yeah, let's make a kill with Hux so that we at least contribute towards that feat. Land a stun, and then I'm going to pass this back to Kylo so he can stun mission again. So that's the great thing about this team. Plenty of control. Let's work on mission when we can. Dispel this. Basic. And let me try to make a kill with Hux again. Stun. Oh, that was too much. Let's do a basic. Oh, that was too much. Difficult to control your kills with this. All right, let's just finish him off. Okay, so we ended with 60 over there, which is the desired outcome. Now we just have one team left. I think we're doing okay on banners. I think apart from a couple of teams where I got 55, we have mostly been doing 59, 60. Now this team is always tough to save banners against. I don't have Thrawn, who would have been really helpful for banner recovery, but I think the best team that I have remaining behind. So I've got 2 really good teams. I've got 3 actually. I've got JTR, I've got Bounty Hunters, and I've got Resistance. And I think the best ones in terms of recovering health is probably not the Geos, it's going to be Bounty Hunters. So since I have my full thing left, I'm probably going to go with Treya and Scion along with the 3 Bounty Hunters, so that I can I have a secondary tank in there, and I have Isolate in there, which will help. Isolate will first go on L3, and then while I work down the rest of the team, and then it'll finally go on Nest as I'm working down on Nest to prevent counters from her. And I've got some big damage dealers in the form of Django and all of that. So plus Bounty Hunter Boss Lead is going to help to recover banners. But let's see if how efficient that is. Yeah, I think this should work. Nest is always going to be a problem, but I'm wondering if I should take in how much is the health on that Nest? I'm wondering if I should take in my Savage or somebody. Mod for tenacity, 130% tenacity, only 33k health, so I'm not that worried about it. Okay, let's just take this squad and be done with it. I think this should allow us to recover some amount of protection. Let's taunt. Another reason why I really like Scion in there is for his Dispel against Droidica. I'm going to try to get rid of Dooku. There we go, 73k. Excellent. Let's isolate over here, pass the thing back to this guy. See if he can't ability block, or we won't be able to ability block Nest. She's a nasty build. But we can at least dispel this from here, from Droidica, and keep working on Droidica. Let's save the dispel and just make a big hit over here. We have to get rid of Newt whenever we can. But first I want to get rid of Droidica. Should be able to get it done with this. Oh, he evaded. So Droidica has tons of evasion. So that's one thing which is really bothersome. I'm going to try to land an ability block over there. And hopefully this should take care of him. Excellent. Now let's work down on Newt, because I want to get rid of the extortion. I don't like it, and I'm going to do burning on Nest so that maximum health gets reduced for Nest and she becomes easier to take down. I should have killed Newt with the Django. What was I doing? Let's keep this on him. Let's execute Newt. And I think this one should get rid of Nest. Oh, it got rid of Nest and L3. 108k hit, 208k hits from Django. So yeah, it was easier than I thought it would be. But I still ended up losing a couple of banners. I think both of them on Scion. The Bounty Hunter boss lead was a good idea because they ended up recovering tons of health and protection. So the 3 Bounty Hunters ended up with full health and full protection. Alright, so we have we've got a rebel squad over here. Biston and Biston is not very well geared, so not that worried about it. But I'm going to take in my full Galactic Republic squad against it, and just go ahead and one-shot it. With higher gear Biston, sometimes you run into some trouble, but it shouldn't be a problem with this one. Who else do I have? Yeah, I think that should be it. Yeah, let me just go in with these guys. Alright, final battle, and then we are done. I think I'm going to try to power down Biggs as soon as I can. So big hit over there. Piston is going to go soon. Alright, let's land some days before Piston got to go, which is good. Fortunately, no days on Millennium Falcon. Let's try to get rid of Piston, or get rid of our Biggs as soon as we can. Big hit over there. Not yet, but this should get rid of him. Alright, now let's get rid of Piston. And now let's land some, put this buff on, and we'll need to recover some banners. Let's put a taunt up on Houndstooth, recover some protection, and let's just get rid of this guy, the Ghost. We do a buff immunity, and let's get in our Plo to heal a bit. Give everyone turn meter. Then help AoE. Okay, we got rid of him. Now just need to get rid of this guy. I want to land a taunt over there, and this should do it. Okay, I think we mostly ended up with full health and full protection on most of them, 65, which is good for ships. Okay, let's see what the final tally is. We one-shot everything, which was what we wanted, um, and we got 1924, which is good. Anything above 1920, I'm happy with. So this puts decent pressure on my opponent to go and try to one-shot everything. There's gas, which is he's obviously going to use a mirror over there. He's going to lose banners. There's he has his own Darth Revan, and but he doesn't have Padme or JKR or General Grievous on for his offense. So that's going to be problematic. There's Treya, and he has his own Night Sisters as well. But I think I have a decent enough banner stripping defense over here, which should give some amount of problem. So I'll give you guys an update shortly whenever my opponent has had a chance to go. So see you guys soon. Okay, we're back with the final results. And my opponent attacked me with about 7-8 hours left to go and cleared me with 1870 banners. Top section was one shot. All the tough teams I had, GAS, DR, and all of that. So they used their meta teams there. And the bottom section, the Jedi Knight Revan team was one shot, but 3 battles against the Newt Nest team. So what must have happened is they must have reserved their very best meta teams for my meta teams, JKR, DR, and GAS, and then probably tried to in order to make up banners, either undersize or try to try a risky comp, and then that team ended up getting 3 holds. First one might have been unable to complete the job, and the second one they might have just had nests left and then cleaned up later. So 3 lost banners there, one shot the teams at the back as well, and one shot my Malevolence. So 30 banners lost in total from this Newt squad. Even if they had one shot that Newt squad, they would have got another 30 banners, which is about 1900, which means that they still would have lost by about 24 banners. So even the rest of the matches were got with less efficiency. 24 banners is about 3 banners per match less than my average, which means that I did about 59 banners per match and my opponent did about 56 banners per match, excluding the couple of losses that they had. So that's it for this round and for this week. Join me again next week.